Now, you can logically understand that a no or not getting a call back isn't really a judgment on your worth. But here's the thing, your nervous system does not work on logic. Your nervous system works on patterns and protection. So when you put out that resume, or when you get that phone call and then it doesn't go any further, after a few of those rejections, or even worse, just total silence, you don't hear anything, your body starts to interpret that as, I'm not wanted, I'm not chosen, I don't belong here. And once that sets in, then your confidence starts to slip. And this is the Back to Work podcast for stay-at-home moms who are thinking about going back to work but terrified about what that means. Maybe you're facing resume gaps or a few outdated skills, not to mention juggling kids, life, and well, everything. We get it. We've been there and we've got you. We know this isn't just about getting work. It's about finding a job that fits you and your life. Every week, you'll hear tips, advice, and stories, all designed to help you go back to work. Hit the subscribe button and never miss an episode. Welcome, everybody, to Back to Work, the podcast for stay-at-home moms who want to go back to work but aren't quite sure where to start. So we always say, start here. Today, it's a little bit different. I don't have Angie with me today. It's just me solo. And I want to talk about rejection when you're looking for a job. We talked a lot about the ins and outs of looking for a job and what to do for interviewing and sending out your resume and what to put in your resume. But we haven't talked about putting all that effort in and not getting the call back, or putting all that effort in and going to the interview and not getting the job. And so today, that's what I want to talk about, because that is a very important piece of searching for a job. It's something that you need to really prepare yourself for, because if you don't, you're going to give up easier. You're going to think something is wrong with you. And so what I want to say is that rejection does start to feel personal. It is one of the hardest parts of looking for a job. And it's not because there's something wrong with you. It's because that is how your brain is wired. It wants to look for meaning. It wants to look for, why did I not get this job? Why is nobody calling me back? And when there's no clear answer, you're going to turn that inward and think that it's something wrong with you. Now, you can logically understand that a no or not getting a call back isn't really a judgment on your worth. But here's the thing, your nervous system does not work on logic. Your nervous system works on patterns and protection. So when you put out that resume, or when you get that phone call and then it doesn't go any further, after a few of those rejections, or even worse, just total silence, you don't hear anything, your body starts to interpret that as, I'm not wanted, I'm not chosen, I don't belong here. And once that sets in, then your confidence starts to slip. And I want to say it again, your body starts to interpret it, not your mind. So that is why you can understand logically that they're not really rejecting you, but your body is feeling it differently. And so it causes your confidence to slip. It causes those thoughts to creep in. So what happens is you start hesitating before you apply. You probably talk yourself out of it. Oh, they're not going to want me anyway. I'm not going to apply to that job, or that job's not good because it has this piece in it, or that's too far away. You start making excuses and you're not going to apply for as many jobs. You start to second guess your resume. You start looking it over and you're saying, why do I have that in there? Or I should make that look better. Or I don't have enough experience in this and they're never going to want me. So what happens is you start pulling back instead of putting yourself out there. And once you do that, it starts to become a self-fulfilling prophecy. You're putting in less effort. You're not sending out your resume as often. So there's not as many people looking at it. And so you're going to get even less callbacks. You're going to get more silence, but you interpret that as they don't want me. I'm not good enough. But really what's happening is you're not putting out as many resumes as you did in the past. So I want you to look out for these 3 things. First, when you start personalizing neutral information. So for example, the silence, not getting a callback, the automated emails that say basically thanks, but no thanks, generic rejection messages that all of a sudden you think are directed specifically at you, right? Your brain will fill in those gaps with thoughts like, they saw the gap in my resume and they just don't want me, or somebody else was better. I'm not good enough. So look out for those things. If you recognize that you start personalizing that neutral type of information, it's a sign that your nervous system is feeling unsafe or your nervous system is feeling dysregulated because you're internalizing what you interpret to be rejection. The second thing I want you to look for is, we talked about this a little bit before, when you start shrinking your effort, you apply to fewer jobs, you avoid the roles that you really want, and you tell yourself you'll wait till you feel more confident, or I need to work on my resume more, or I need to practice my interview skills more before I can apply for that job. You're coming up with ways to avoid sending out your resume, and this really is your nervous system trying to protect you from more disappointment. That's all that is. It feels like you're being productive because I'm going to work on my resume. I'm going to practice my interview skills. Those things feel productive, but they're really techniques that your nervous system is using to protect you from disappointment. The third thing I want you to look for is when your inner voice starts to turn on you, when it starts to feel harsh, that tone in your mind shifts from curiosity to criticism. Instead of thinking, well, I need to find out more about that job. I'm really interested in it. I want to learn more. It turns to, I'm never going to get that job. I should be further along than I am. Other people are better than me. I waited too long to get back into the workforce, right? All of those kinds of thoughts. That is your inner voice turning on you. Again, it is a way for your nervous system to take you away from the thing that it feels is unsafe for you or the thing that is dysregulating you. It's moving you away from that. And when you do that, again, you start putting in less effort. You start not putting out your resume. You start to not have as many interviews because you're not doing the things you need to do in order to get them. So it's a big cycle. It's you start with, I can do this, and then you start doing it. It doesn't go the way that you think it will. You think something's wrong with you. You stop doing it, and then you convince yourself that you are never going to have it because nobody wants you. But really what's happening is you are the one withdrawing. So I want you to think about this. I want you to interrupt the tone and not necessarily the thought. You can be curious about the thought without actually entertaining it. You don't need to force positivity, but try grounding statements like, this process is challenging, but I am still capable. That kind of language keeps you sending out those resumes instead of avoiding doing that. Rejection does not mean that you're doing it wrong. It just means that you're in the middle of the process, and rejection is part of that. So the goal is not to eliminate disappointment. It's to stop letting it define you. When you learn to separate the feedback that you're getting from your identity, you keep your momentum, your confidence, your sense of self intact. And that is what pushes you through the other side of this. So I want to talk about some things that you can do to help keep you in the game. The first thing is to regulate before you reframe. Jumping right into, it's not personal. when your body is not feeling that way. Your body is tight. Your stomach has dropped. You feeling, however you feel when you think that something has gone wrong, right? We all have a different feeling. What I want you to do when you feel that way, I want you to take a pause. I want you to breathe, and I want you to let yourself feel disappointed. But here's the key. Feel disappointed without spiraling. So I want you to feel the disappointment, and you can even say things to yourself like, of course this sucks. I really wanted this job. That's validating yourself, and that can help calm your nervous system down so you can start thinking clearly again, okay? You don't need to fix the feeling to move forward. You just need to stop a minute and let yourself feel it for a second and breathe, and then let yourself move on. Where we get stuck is when we stay in that disappointed state and we spiral to all sorts of thoughts that are not helpful for us, okay? So that's what I want you to look out for. Let yourself feel disappointed, but don't spiral. The second thing I want you to do is separate your identity from the outcome, okay? This is huge. Feedback is just about the fit, the timing, the logistics. It's not about your worth, your intelligence, or your capability, okay? So practice that language that draws that clean line. This was a no to this role, not to me. Repeating that may feel simple, but it starts to retrain your brain to stop collapsing everything into one story. And the story usually is, I suck and nobody wants me, right? So separate the identity from the outcome. If you didn't get the job, it doesn't mean that you're not worthy. It doesn't mean that you're not intelligent. It doesn't mean that you're not capable. It just means that you didn't get that job. And there are a million reasons why somebody doesn't get a job. And it's not always because of capability. The third thing is, I want you to create a post-rejection routine. It helps that rejection to not linger. So decide in advance what you'll do after a no or a silence. Maybe it's taking a walk. Maybe it's getting a massage. Maybe it's journaling. Whatever it is, whatever helps to regulate you. It doesn't matter what it is. It's a routine that's going to help you through the process so that rejection can stop moving into every other area of your life. The fourth one is keep the bar for success low and specific. So if your definition of success is getting the job, then you will feel defeated most of the time. So I want you to shift success to things that you can control. Like, I followed up professionally. I applied to that job even though I was nervous. I showed up to that interview honestly. Those are the things that I want you to focus on. All the steps that you need to take to get that job are significant, and they matter, and they mean something. So those are the things that I want you to focus on. So keep the bar for success low. Getting the job is not the only success that you can focus on. The fifth and last thing is stay in expectation, not hope, because hope is fragile. Hope is out of your control. Expectation feels more grounded. You're not hoping somebody sees your value. You're expecting that somebody will see your value, that you will have that conversation with somebody and you will be seen as that qualified person showing up. Okay, that subtle shift changes how you carry yourself, and people feel that energy. Remind yourself of this. If rejection hurts, it's usually because you care. It's not because you're failing. Caring is not a weakness in a job search. It just needs structure so it doesn't run the show. It's part of the process. Nothing has gone wrong. When you respond this way, rejection becomes something you can move through. It's not something that stops you. And that is what keeps you confident and consistent in sending out those resumes so you can get those interviews and you will get that job. All right, that's what I have for you this week. I hope everybody has a great week, and I'll see you next time. Thank you so much for listening. Your support means the world to us. If this episode resonated with you, we invite you to subscribe to the podcast, share with another mom, and explore the links in the show notes. Remember, you and all moms deserve support on your journey back to work.